The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Hello and welcome to the One People Show.
Good evening, everyone. We are here at the One People's Roundtable discussion. It's Dani running the show tonight because Lisa's in school. She couldn't make it, but you all know that from last week. We tried to make some arrangements to get her to sneak in, but it just didn't work. She was naughty and had to stay late and do homework or something like that. It was an interesting day today. Isn't it funny how often I say that? I put out a special report this morning about the stock market and, Black Monday that just disappeared magically. I love it when it just magically disappears. That is out on Removing the Shackles. You can go check that out. But I have a special guest tonight. I have an old friend of mine who has a few things to talk about. I'd like to introduce Sue Rhoades from adventuresintosovereignty.org. Sue, I'm so glad you're with us tonight.
Nice to be hanging out with you again, Dani. It's been a while. It's been a while since some of our crazy adventures. Yep.
Yes. So, some of you will have read an article that Sue put out on Adventures into Sovereignty about a week ago. Was it, Sue?
I think I posted on the 12th of August.
So, around there. Week and a bit.
Like that. Yeah.
Talking about the ITNJ and the adventures of Sue Rhoades into the world of the ITNJ and how they think law runs. So we're going to have a little chit chat tonight. We're going to talk about the issues because the issues are the exact same issues that Lisa and I had, the exact same issues that we tried to get answers on and didn't get answers on. And the exact same issues that when statements were made, they were outright lies, i.e. the Bar Association. So, Sue, I want you to just start off where you want. Tell us, because you've been involved heavily in the legal side of stuff going on and legal remedies, we'll say, for a whole long time. Yeah. So give me an idea, or give our listeners an idea of where this all started, as far as when the questions started coming up.
Well, the questions actually started coming up probably the end of June, I would say, after the seating. There were some before the seating, but we weren't really too concerned about those questions. It was after the seating that really things started to become clear that we were not going to come to an agreement on Constitution, on, just general how the court was going to be run. We'd spent a great deal of time working on the grand jury model that we came up with, and it's a beautiful thing. We're going to bring it out on Adventures into Sovereignty soon. It's suffice it to say there's no need for a judge. There's no need for anybody but the jury and the first responder or the best responder in this court system. So it has its checks and balances, and if you want a judge, you can have one. If not, fine, but they don't have to have any titles, and they don't have to have any JD behind their name. All they need to do is really know what their job is. And that's all that really people should know, right? Is when they're working with something like this, you need to know what it is that your job is, that your responsibility is, so that you can take that responsibility and act on it accordingly well and do a good job. There's a lot of grand jury movements in the world, especially here in the United States. The grand jury movement is just exploding. And the more groups that we would talk to, the more we're thrilled about getting on board, because we mentioned the grand jury, and this is one of the reasons why we got them involved in the first place. Hey, this is going to have a grand jury. You can be involved. Bring in your ideas. Let's flow with the ideas. And the more we got them involved and able to, we were starting to work together. Some of these grand jury groups, they don't work well together. They clash, and which is so silly. It's, I shouldn't say silly, but I'm sure it's very important to them. But overall, I don't see it. Anyway, the whole thing with the ITNJ goes well beyond a Caleb Skinner issue or a Sasha Stone issue, or, basically, it was an old paradigm clashing with the new. And the insistence that the old paradigm continue having the authority and all the control, and because it had the knowledge and the titles. And, we bow to that, because we do. We've done that in the society for eons. I'm done with that. I'm done. Like I said before, my father may know a whole lot about what he did at Chrysler Corporation for many years, and he's the authority, I guess, in my life on that. But when it comes to politics, he's not the authority. He still believes in voting. Well, he's 90 years old, and he believes that voting for his president is the best thing to do. Do I follow that? No. So in that case, he may be in my authority, but he's not any more knowledgeable. In fact, I'm more knowledgeable in that realm than he is. So to actually take someone like any attorney, or even like John Walsh, and say, well, yes, he's been practicing law for a long time. He's got all these titles behind his name. He's well known in his circles. He's not well known in mine. And the biggest deal we had was with the Constitution. We could not agree on it. We had an expert come in, a paid expert, and give us their opinion, because we thought, why aren't we agreeing on this? Why can't we get this right? And came up with basically the same problems that we had.
Okay, so, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Because I always run into this problem, because I talk to everyone off screen, and then you get on screen and go, did we talk about that on screen or not? Yeah, I know, it happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
The Constitution. Let's start there, because this is a major piece of this. Now, you said even before going into the inauguration, there was still arguments about how it should be, what it should have included or not included, and the language it was written in.
Well, yes, the language it was written in, some of it I would call legalese. I would call lawyer speak. I would call double speak. And you could look at one article of the Constitution, and it said no one's excluded from justice. But then there was another one that was a guard against corruption. So which is it? Do you guard against corruption, or do you exclude no one from justice? It was those kind of things. And they went on throughout the document, such to the point where I thought, what's the point? And not only that, there were judges were there for life, and they had to have appropriate legal qualifications. What is that? What are appropriate legal qualifications to be a judge? So who makes that call? Who makes that call?
Yeah, and well, like you said, appropriate legal qualifications to be a judge, but in order to get to that standing, someone has already been immersed in a legal system, which is what we're trying to change.
Yeah, it brings your mind to the point of a group of people that sanction another person or will promote another person as part of their group as excelling in that group. And whatever group you want to call it, and it could, in this case, it would have been, you know, a judge's group of lawyers or people with appropriate legal qualifications. Well, I may have appropriate legal qualifications, but I'm sure I wouldn't have them as far as, you know, what a current judge would say or would think. I was a legal assistant. So, you know, I have appropriate legal qualifications for legal assisting, right? That's pretty much
And
it.
yet I don't really know as many lawyers who know as much about the law as Sue does. So that says a hell of a lot for legal qualifications right there.
What I basically know is how it works and how I don't want it to continue to work. I can tell you that right now. And what we have now is definitely not what we want to reproduce. And if we're going to do it that way, my energy, I couldn't put my energy into it. And without saying anything bad about anyone involved, I'm not here to do that either. It's not about character and it's not about personality so much. It's about the facts. And, you know, in the legal world, that's what you're supposed to look at, even though you manipulate the facts on a regular basis. You know, that's what you're supposed to look at, and that's what I'm looking at here. And so I'm not here to bash anybody's personality or integrity or anything like that. I can't get into their heads. How would I know that? How would I know who's good and who's bad, except for by their actions? So, in my opinion of their actions. But we, you know, to have this team basically disbanded by some purported authority who wanted to remove, actually it was a vote of no confidence they came up with for Rebecca, which was basically removing her as the ITNJ USA team director. Well, we love Rebecca. She's well respected here. And I'm telling you, as far as someone who has appropriate legal qualifications, she would be one of them. I hold her in high regard, and so do a lot of other people. We have a team of researchers that is just unbelievable. They've come up with so much stuff about the Magna Carta, about the Treaty of Verona, about the Vatican, and of course it goes all the way back. And you know, I just saw a document the other day where the Jesuit oath is taken in Congress. You know, it's there in the 61st yeah, 61st session, I believe. The Jesuit oath is there. So he dug all this cool stuff up. So this is the quality of the researchers we have. And to say that there's no confidence in us because we came up with a model that they didn't like, they said couldn't work internationally, is I don't understand that. You know,
well, I mean, first off, is why would the American team be responsible for making sure it's internationally valid? And the word validity is a big one for me, because when you and I talked about this privately, it was like, whoa, wait a second. If you're going to try now to make a legal system that fits with every international legal system, don't we right then and there have a problem? Because aren't we supposed to be changing the legal system? In which case, how does that work? And why was the American team put into a position where they were supposed to come up with a global remedy?
We don't know. You know, we did the best we could. This model we came up with was people powered. It was all about the people. You know, it was all about history. The first case we were going to bring out, you know, with the source documents, was going to show how this is worldwide. That was the original plan from what I was told, and why I came on board, because the first case would have shown exactly what had happened and how it affects the entire world and how all these corporations did this over a period of years. Yes, the documents came from the United States, and there are country-specific documents, but we asked those countries, you know, produce them. If you have them, please. Maybe they don't have as many researchers or the ability to do that as well as we had. I don't know how well hidden their documents are. But I was hoping that later on, as they came on board, that we would be able to develop those relationships and get those documents from them, so that we would have a library of them that would show that this is in every part of the world. But basically, though, nothing's going to change unless the people do it. That's just my whole thing, that it's got to be originated from the people. It's got to be based on truth, peace, and law. And if it's not going to work. It's not going to be recognized, and no other people are going to recognize it either. They're going to think it's another scam.
Exactly. So
yeah.
I want, before we go on to the grand jury model, because it is very, very interesting, the work that you guys have done, the discussions you and I have had about it. Personally, I like it, and that's saying something, because I hate everything to do with legal in every way, shape, and form. So if I like it, you may be onto something there. But I want to go back to the Constitution, because, of course, when you have anyone signing documents that are purportedly of an official nature, i.e., that's why it's called a constitution or a treaty, etc., etc., there is an onus that it has to be clear, and that it has to be clearly seen and put out there clearly. And the wording wasn't clear.
No.
I mean, what we did, we looked at it, and I have my own research team who delve into all areas of legal aspects, who went through this and went, well, wait, you can't say this sentence and then say this sentence.
Yes.
And this sentence has no definition. So how can you say this and then follow it with this when you haven't even defined what these statements mean? And they were very, very open-ended, that could have been used in any different way.
Yes. Yeah. And the grand jury model doesn't give the judge the power, unfortunately, for the judge. The grand jury model does all the work for the judge. The judge signs off and makes sure that everybody follows the rules. That's the traditional role of the judge.
Well, the judge is the referee.
Yeah, basically.
The judge is the referee. You give him a striped shirt and a whistle, and he can stand there behind his little podium and go, no, you're off topic, go back. And that's the role of the judge, not to actually judge. The jury is the one doing that. The judge is there to make sure that all the aspects are covered off properly.
All the rules are followed, all the rules of the court, whatever rules there may be. Make sure that everybody follows them, keeps the peace, and signs off and agrees and works in partnership with the grand jury, in my opinion, not as an adversary or as someone to oversee them. We're done with that. We're done with that authority stuff. I never did. I was taught when I entered the legal field, that these judges, oh yes, this judge here, you need to cross your arms like this when you're in his courtroom, and you need to wear certain types of clothes when you're in this guy's courtroom. And I'm thinking, what for?
Seriously?
What for? Yeah, we're presenting a case here, and we're presenting the facts. When did this become about what I'm wearing, to do that? So that was a little weird to me. And, and of course it just got more and more weird as it went on for 15 years. And, I worked in asbestos, and I can't even tell you the nightmare that was, because it was all about corporations, skeleton corporations that had gone bankrupt years before, collecting insurance money, and people were dying. And actually the actual perpetrator was Phillips Corporation. But all these companies had gone in front of them, and so that the corporate veil could never be pierced, because there were probably 250 companies to go through before you even got to Phillips Corporation, the real perpetrator and the cause of murder. They should be on trial for murder today because of that. So basically, once I realized all of those things, I guess I became sensitive to them when I left the field. And when I started doing my other research, my alternative research, I call it, and putting my head back together, putting it back on straight. Now, being involved in the ITNJ was just a wonderful thing, because I thought I could re-enter like the quote unquote legal field, but only do it right this time. Fix it, do it right. The ITNJ, in my opinion, was only to provide the space for the people to do their thing, to do empower the people to do their thing. And I guess there are different ways of looking at that. And of course, the purported authority there disagreed, many times with what it was that we were doing. But all in all, we weren't going to give in to this.
Okay, so the disagreements.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it all starts with the disagreements when you bring forward your pieces and say, okay, this is where it should go. This is what we're seeing. This is what we've put together. And then there's disagreement. So let's look in the grand jury model, especially. What was it that the ITNJ directors would not agree on?
Well, the model that we were told that we put out could not be implemented internationally. Absolutely no way. Really? Okay, this is about the people. Go on, go further. And it would not be accepted internationally. And we can't bring all of these people that are into the legal field now that would like to make an exodus and like to do good. We can't bring them in with this type of a model. They're not going to accept it. Okay, this is still about the people. Yeah, but you know, we have to be able to bring all these big names in and all these people. Why? What for? This is about the people. So, and you know, I tried to keep that as my goal as far as, hey, this is what we said we were going to do. This is what we've been telling the public that we were doing and working on for a year. So why is it all of a sudden that it's not workable now? I still don't have an answer to that question. And I don't have an answer to the question of, you know, why we couldn't come to an agreement on the Constitution, why it did ultimately give the judge the authority, the Chief Justice authority. You know,
for a lifetime.
Lifetime. That's what we have now. Are you kidding me? That is not going to go over in the USA. You know, and I said that the USA, the Americans are not going to accept this. You know, I am one, and I don't accept it. So, you know, I couldn't see the grand jury panels getting involved in it either. So I thought, how are we going to, you know, come back and try and rework something to where it's international? We're Americans. We were doing all the legwork here as far as building the structure and trying to get the relationships going on our end with the grand jury movement. That's what I thought the deal was. You know, this is what our job was to do. Well, then it turned into crowdfunding. You know, we had to start crowdfunding. Well, I didn't want any part of that. I had my own stuff to do, and I wasn't going to get involved in it. But I got on the calls and, you know, did a couple of things that I was asked to do. But one person basically took that over and almost single-handedly got it done. It was a flop, deemed a flop, and I couldn't understand why then, but I do know why now, because it was kind of flawed in its face. The people saw that I probably didn't, because when you're involved in it and your head is in it, sometimes you can't see from the outside, you know. And I didn't have that eyesight.
Oh, I know all about that. Oh,
I bet you do.
All about that. It's amazing what perspective you gain in hindsight.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to the crowdfunding thing in a bit, because that is actually a piece that I think needs to be discussed a little bit. Okay. But I want to talk about taking the old and continuously trying to call it something new. Now, one of the main questions, the biggest question we had just before the inauguration that we tried to discuss with Sasha and with Sir John Brennan, the guy.
John Walsh,
John Walsh, that's it. I went, oh, Lord Brennan? Wait, is that it? I don't know. I get all confused with the titles. John Walsh is the issue of the bar. And of course, the big issue for us was, wait a second, everyone involved who is an attorney, i.e. this John Walsh, is a sworn bar member. Sworn. And that's why the expression is it being sworn into the bar. It's not, hi, I'm going to make a promise, or I'm going to make a pinky finger swear. No, it's being sworn to the bar. Everyone knows the expression. We've heard it 1,000 times. And my statement then, and I still stand by it, anyone who knows anything about oaths knows the first oath always stands. regardless of how many you take after, unless you rescind that first oath, it stands.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is the way it is. So you have a situation where all of a sudden you have attorneys coming in, a bar sworn attorney being made Chief Justice for life, and we had issues with it. And that was our big question of like, well, wait a second. The bar is the bar. And unfortunately, when we made the questions ourselves, that question was completely glossed over. And then, I'm sorry, I will call a spade, John Walsh lied about it. He outright lied. And he said, oh, the bar is not swearing to the crown. Oh, and the bar is not, it's not a Jesuit order. The Order of the Temples and the Inner Temple. No, they're not Jesuit orders at all. No, of course they're not. It's not like it's a basic fact that everyone doesn't already know. So you have huge alarm bells go off instantaneously of like, ooh, wait a second. This is the Bar Association we're talking about now. And anyone who knows law knows what that means. So setting up the new, but bringing in the exact same old structures, which is what you guys were trying to change with this grand jury stuff. So, I mean, did you guys bring up the issue of the bar? Was this a conversation you guys ever had in the fact of like, wait a second, we have it maybe an issue with this whole bar card carrying sworn in people?
I had made it clear, I believe it was in an email that said, basically, the Bar Association is could be a good thing for the ITNJ if it were specific to the ITNJ, but it's also a safety net for some of the heinous criminals on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And with the oath being the way it was, and the fact that people weren't made to rescind their previous oaths before they got in, because the oath was a good thing. I saw that and I thought, okay, these people take an oath to do right by the ITNJ, to do right by the people. I'm good with that until until it was made clear that, well, wait, they don't have to rescind any other oaths. It doesn't supersede any other oaths. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. Again, not fine, but I mean, I can even almost swallow that if these people were having to rescind their oath publicly before they were to take the oath of the ITNJ in front of the people. Okay, I could even handle that, but none of that was to be had, and I couldn't understand why. Now we've got two trains of thought here. We've got titles, we've got purported nobility, we've got old money, we've got big names here. So are we talking about ego now? Are we talking about the titles and the old money ruling the planet and not wanting to let go? Or are we talking about, we can't give this court to the people? Are you kidding? This is ours. We made it. It was our idea. We're not going to give it to them. I don't really know what it was, Dani. All I know is none of the reasons why things could not change and could not, I just never got any reasons that satisfied me. And most of my questions didn't even get answered. So, and the ones that did were not addressed to my satisfaction.
Well, okay. So the one thing I'm going to say is this. When Sue and I had this conversation, the one thing I'd said to Sue was about the inauguration. And John Walsh at the end of the inauguration makes a statement about the new ITNJ Bar Association. And if I had had half a brain cell earlier today, I would have had Biggie have that recording ready to play. And I forgot because I was too busy watching frickin' Wall Street lie through their teeth. Sorry, everyone. But what we did is this, because if anyone who's actually listened or watched the video for the ITNJ inauguration, they know that the audio is decidedly terrible. And more importantly, is it seems like every time John Walsh opened his mouth to speak, all of a sudden the audio would get really, really terrible.
Our live feed was non-existent, which was very strange. I mean, we couldn't figure it out.
And I said to Sue, when Sue and I first talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I said, did you not hear what John Walsh said? And Sue said, no, we couldn't hear jack shit. And you guys had been promised a clean recording and you never got sent it. At the 51-minute mark, and I decided to take it upon myself to send the recording to a friend of mine who's an audio engineer and have him clean up the audio. So I have a lovely soundbite segment of the audio for the 2.5 minutes that John Walsh is speaking, where you can clearly hear him say, the new ITNJ Bar Association, the oath to that new ITNJ Bar Association will not contradict the previous oaths taken by the bar card carrying attorneys and justices. Which he then turned around, apparently through Brian Kelly on Facebook, turned around and said the exact opposite of that last week.
I saw that.
We have a recording. So tomorrow, everyone, it won't be tonight because let's face it, it's already like past midnight my time. Tomorrow I'll put out the recording so everyone can listen to the 2.5 minutes themselves and listen to what he says. Judge for yourselves, right? Yeah, because that's a major one, and that was the major alarm bell for us. That was one of the biggest alarm bells for us, was that previous oaths still stand. And an oath is an oath, and is an oath. And when you're dealing with these orders, it's not just like, you know, speak now or forever hold your peace. I promise to be faithful to, you know, whatever. No, these oaths are very, very serious.
Yeah.
And so it's a major piece. So
yeah. And does anyone has anyone seen a scanned copy of the signed Constitution?
No,
I haven't either.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, not that I know of.
It could be there. It could be out there. But I have, you know, Sue, when you yourself, who was so incredibly involved with the ITNJ stuff up until just 2 weeks ago, you don't even have a scanned copy of it?
No.
Or a clean recording of the inauguration. Now, one of the things that you said, I think it was you, it may have been someone else I spoke to, because it's also confusing, is that John Walsh actually made a handwritten change on that Constitution before he signed it.
That's my understanding. That's my understanding, is that, and wrote something on there and would not sign it unless he was able to write that on there. I don't know what that was.
Does anyone know?
Not to my knowledge. You know, again, that may be something that's out there, but I haven't seen it. So you add that to all the other unknowns, you know, all the other, why is one person writing this Constitution? Why is one person, their word, the last word on it? Why are the people not involved here? Why, you know, I had a lot of whys and I just never got them answered. And I thought, I'm dealing with the same crap that I left. You know, I can see it. And it was just too familiar to me, and I just ran the other way when I realized that for myself I couldn't do it. I couldn't continue. So, and then to take then on top of that, to take the team and say, we're going to disband you, and we're going to replace you or reinvite you to other portions of the project or whatever. I can't remember the exact wording of that, but in other words, yeah, we were going to be dispersed and then replaced somewhere. And I thought, really?
Whose authority?
Well, the email came from Sasha himself, and I don't really understand to this day where the authority is, you know, to do that. To tell, we came together on our own power. You know, we volunteered. We knew what we were getting into. We weren't funded. You know, in fact, some of us at one point even took a pool in for another team member who was going to lose her apartment if she didn't have some money that week. You know, so we were not funded. So we knew that. It was our decision and our responsibility to take care of that. So anyway, so how can you disband us? What contract did we sign that said, hey, you're my boss? You know, you can bring us together and you can disband us. It was almost surreal because I thought this can't be real, that somebody would actually think that of a volunteer team. So I thought, okay, then were we just slave labor? You know, that's the way I felt anyway. It made me feel that way, that all the energy that I'd put into this amounted to nothing but slave labor. And if that's the way they saw me, well, I didn't want to have any part of that. And I want to make it clear that I treated every one of them with the same respect that I wanted in return, no matter how they spoke to me, no matter, you know, how they treated my team members. I didn't want to, but I did, because that's just how I like to operate. But, and I'm still doing it.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, I'm still
respect. Seriously, don't you think you were just asking a bit much?
Well, we were supposed to give respect to others, so I don't understand why that wasn't returned in the manner. You know, there was not even a thank you for the work we'd done. You know, as far as what we had accomplished, it was a hell of a lot for a handful of people, a hell of a lot. So, but not to whine or anything. I'm glad I did it. It was a great experience. But yes, the grand jury part and the Constitution part. I think Mr. Walsh said at one point that he could, if he wanted grand jury members, he'd get them out of the phone book. And the way it was explained to me by someone else who was very eloquent in explaining it said, you know, when you want to see a program on TV, you want to see a synopsis of it. You know, you want to know what it's about before you kind of put your energy into it. And the same applies here. With the grand jury, you don't need to indoctrinate them, or, you know, our education model was called indoctrination, and it wasn't. It was just simply a fully informed a fully informed grand jury, which is the way it was supposed to be. Again, you give the people the synopsis to put this model out to the public and say, you get to vote now on this court case, and this judge is going to be here and he's going to rule on this court. And here's all the players, and here's, you know, it was like a show. A court is not a show. Number one. Number two, who do you think they're going to vote for? You know, it was almost like they were recreating a Jerry Springer show or something, in my mind, a reality show. And I thought, this is not a reality show. This is actually being able to prosecute criminals on the planet that are committing genocide every day, you know, that are raping and pillaging every day and getting by with it. It just didn't seem to me that it was being taken seriously enough, I guess, in that respect, when it came to the grand jury. So to open it up to the public and have everybody vote, are you kidding? What are they voting on? Does everyone know? And do they know what their responsibilities are to the people when they do it? I can't see how, you know, one person would vote. Let's say we're taking Washington, D.C., for example, to task, and we're pointing out all the fraud. We're pointing out that it's owned by a religious corporation. It's a nonprofit, and, you know, they've done all these laws. Let's lay it all out. Do you think anyone's going to say they're good guys? I think they're good guys. I don't think so. Anyone that can understand the language is not going to say that. So you're stacking the deck there. Definitely. In my opinion, it's not fair. I think you're muted.
Yeah, I know. It's the infamous. I'm trading messages back and forth with Biggie. Biggie has the sound bite. He's already winding it up because he was like, I have that one. Let me just pull that up. So we are going to play it. Biggie's just working out the technical because we may have to black out the screen because it's just a sound bite. It's not a video, and then he'll count us back in. He'll let me know, though, when it's ready, and I'll let you guys all know. Here's the thing. I mean, we discussed this, too. This is something that I discussed with my team when we were doing the research on a lot of stuff. Because I had a lot of conversations with Sasha way back about how they were going to move forward, and the grand jury and all of this. And there's teaching the jury law, i.e. not law, because that's not what it's about. It's about natural law, as you were calling it, right?
Right.
How to look at something. But it's not about indoctrinating them with processes and legalese, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because people are rational and they can be able to look at something and say, okay, that's right, and that's way the fuck wrong.
Yep.
It's not about indoctrinating them into a process of how to do it. It's about letting the people judge for themselves. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this is the thing. Again, we come back into this old system of judges and control and lawyers and old systems, which are, hey, have failed the people, are not for the people, never were for the people. So why would we want to bring that back?
Exactly. Why would I work so hard for a year to recreate the same thing I left, basically? For free. On top of that. On top of that. So why would I do that?
For free. Okay, so everyone, we're going to take a quick momentary pause. I'm going to play a little clip for you. The words of John Walsh himself. Biggie, if you've got it ready, roll it in and then let me know if we're live or not.
Your Worship, someone asked me once, what do we need to fix up problems in the court system? My answer was very simple. We need intelligent, honest judges. And we need competent counsel. Now, one of the things that we've had a look at, and Sasha and I have spoken about, is in some quarters of the world, there's concern that lawyers have signed up to some secret agreement with all the other lawyers in the world to defeat ordinary people and to write language in such a way that no one can understand. What I can say, that is completely false. There's also a rumour going around in one particular country. There's an organisation called BAR, B-A-R, in uppercase letters, and I see Dr. Clinton smiling over there, that is supposedly a secret organisation that all the lawyers in the world belong. The reality is they don't. I'm a member of 2 bar associations, and I don't have any problem with that. There's a book here on Magna Carta, of which I was a minor contributor, published by the International Bar Association, which is here for anyone to look at. And the International Bar Association was the instigator of the Human Rights Institute some years ago. And so Sasha and I spoke about this, and we came up with a solution. The International Tribunal for Natural Justice is setting up its own bar association, and the members of it will agree to an oath, similar to a judicial oath, to do right by all manner of persons, to act competently before the tribunal, and to fight for their crimes and for justice. It's written in such a way it does not conflict with any other bar association or oath. In some countries, you take an oath to the sovereign, such as the Queen. In other countries, you take an oath to the government, or you take an oath to the Attorney General, or the Bishop, or whatever you do. This doesn't conflict. And what Sasha and I saw as a way of evening the field, as it were. So the people who counsel, whether they're solicitors, barristers, attorneys, proctors, whatever they're called, who appear before the tribunal, have agreed to a similar type of oath that the judges will take. And we are opening that to everybody. It doesn't conflict with any national or international or parochial bar association. And we think this will help answer, the a number of questions. The only disadvantage for me is that I pay bar fees to 2 bar associations at the moment. Means I'll be paying some small modest fees. So I was prompted to raise that because I saw Dr. Beverly coming to Geneva, and welcome next. So,
Thank you.
And we're back. And for those of you who don't speak Australian, I do have an Australian friend who's going to translate that for us in a transcription into English. You know, North Americanized English. Just in case it wasn't quite clear exactly what was said, I hopefully will have that tomorrow. So yeah, from the words of the man himself. Doesn't contradict their original standing oaths to the crown. Take that as you will, folks. So, going back to the grand jury. And the question is, your model, and I can fully and transparently say I have not seen it all yet. Sue has explained quite a few aspects of it to me, but when you said you guys are going to release the model when? Like very soon.
Yeah, we're working on the website and, you know, kind of revamping it a little bit. And I wanted to find a decent space to start bringing all that stuff out. But maybe I'll just go ahead and post it and people can put their comments on it. I can throw it on Facebook, whatever. It's for anybody.
The opinions of the people?
Yeah, it's for anybody to use. Yeah, anybody.
So, the question always comes out, well, where do you go from here? For you yourself, for a lot of other people who hoped and believed that the ITNJ was the answer they were looking for, a remedy in legal terms to the legal problems of the world, and it's not, and I'm sorry. That's my opinion. Everyone can hold their own opinion on what they agree on. It's not. It is a continuation of the Bar Association. It is a continuation of the same controllers, the same organization structure as what we have now. So where do we go? That's the big question.
Well, our next thing is, you know, we'll put out the grand jury model, and we're still working with the grand jury groups. In fact, one of the groups one of the largest groups, in fact, his, I would say leader, whatever, representative, talked to Rebecca recently. They've even got more information now to actually fine tune the first model. So once I get that information, you know, we'll get that posted too. But the model, you know, we're just going to continue putting out the model, continue the shows. We're going to do more like a on-demand type thing instead of a weekly thing. We weren't able to do that. We've expanded though. Let's talk sovereignty. You know, there's sovereignty in everything. There's a way to stand up for yourself. There's a way to live without corporate control. And that includes taking back our farms, alternative medicines, alternative energies, all of those things. And I'm in a wonderful group right now of, I don't know if I should, former people that are together and working for good and doing the same thing that they did where they were, and only now they're able to do it with a little more freedom. So I'm in that group too, and there's free energy there. There's new math, quantum math. There's just amazing stuff happening in that group. And I talked to a representative today. I'm just thrilled about what she's doing and the projects that are going to be coming out. And I don't want to speak for them and put them out now because I don't know, you know, how they feel about that. It's up to them to do that. But let me just say that we'll be working with them and doing whatever we can to help implement the projects with them. We're going to, you know, they want the sovereignty end of it, and they want us to teach sovereignty. So we're just taking that into every realm of living that we can, because we don't need these damn corporations. We don't need all of this control.
No.
You know, and I know that's easy for me to say because right now I'm living in a rural area, you know, on Native American ground, sacred ground, all that stuff in the middle of BF Egypt. And I can say that, but I can also take that same mindset and move into, you know, a big city and do the same thing. It's not impossible. And there's many ways to do that. So we'll be bringing that out. I just got off an interview with Ken Doss, the mortgage fraud expert, who's come up with some amazing stuff using UCC, their own laws and their own administrative remedy to get out of foreclosures and to actually,
nice.
Yeah, to point out the fraud. So all these things are going to help people. So that's what we're going to continue to do. Only we're going to do it a little bit on steroids. So
on steroids.
We're going to put it on some steroids. So yeah.
So the chat room is talking about right now. If you guys want to join into the chat room, lisamharrison.com, watch live. The chat room is in there. They're relatively quiet. I think everyone's listening very carefully. But they're talking about basically that this failure shows that we need to tear down the old systems fully so we can build new systems without limits and interferences.
Yeah. And, you know, recognize when authority is coming in and saying you need to obey because I've got all these titles, or, you know, you need to listen to this guy because he's my good friend. That's not acceptable anymore. Not in an awake society. It's no longer acceptable. It's not enough.
No,
and I'm not saying agree with me and I'm right and you're wrong. I'm saying at least discuss this. And, you know, when it comes to the point where you're actually butting heads, don't pull any kind of authority crap on me because you're not my authority. You know, I see you as a peer, as an equal, but no more. I think that might have been a rude awakening for some of those people because a lot of people, from what I understand on the American team, were not going to accept their authority anymore. They weren't going to accept any of that. Well, they never did. But, you know, when it hits you right in the face that, hey, you're going to respect these people or else. That's kind of what we got. And it was like, what? We disagree with you, so we're not respecting you? Is that an international thing? I don't think so.
No.
No.
Everyone has their areas of expertise. And I'm sorry, what flies in one place does not fly in another. And it's about sharing knowledge. Sharing, not preaching, not sermonizing, not demanding, but sharing knowledge. And when people bring to the table concerns on any level of any piece, then those concerns need to be discussed and fully and transparently discussed so that everyone is on the same page. Because if that's not the way it is, then there's no moving forward. You can't move forward with something new if it's still running in the old paradigm of, you know, we're making the rules, this is the rules, this is the way it's going to be, and you're just going to follow along. That's old. That's what we're trying to tear down. And questions, anyone who has a question has the right to ask the question and has a right to an answer if, you know, it comes back to the respect thing. You respect me and I'll respect you and vice versa. But it's an equal thing. It's not, you don't dare ask me a question. It's not, because if someone's not willing to give the answer, then they have to understand that, I'm sorry, the free thinking people in the world are going to go, wait a second, why won't you answer that question? What is going on here if we're talking about changing an old paradigm and yet perfectly valid questions are not being answered or not being truthfully answered?
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, when you don't get an answer, you got to wonder why. And I did wonder why. Why can't we agree on this Constitution? Our points are valid. This is an open-ended Constitution. This is something that can be amended every year by the Board of Trustees. And I'm thinking, why? You know, even there's some, even our Constitution, I mean, you can add amendments, you can, you know, there's things that you can do, but there are certain amendments that can never be changed on our Constitution. As flawed as it is, we all know it's bullshit. But I mean, when you look at the, you know, as a Constitution, it should be, that's the way it should be. No different with the ITNJ Constitution. I don't understand why they could go over it every year and change it. Why would you want to do that? So what's the point in writing it to begin with?
Well, and not only that, this is one of my biggest problems I had was the fact that you have people signing this, and the treaty as well for New Earth Nation. You have people signing something that is a self-declared work in progress, and if someone's signature is on it and a change is made, that carries through. It's still tacit consent.
Yeah.
Right? So that's old paradigm, isn't it? So how can we have documents that are open-ended and are there to set a certain precedent and yet, well, can be changed at the drop of a hat and the changes not be put out?
Right. And then when someone says, well, this paragraph doesn't make sense because this paragraph says this, for whatever reason, the expert that we got in said, hey, all this authority, can't stay with the judge. There's loopholes here that allow that to happen no matter what, even though you've taken out, let's see, I think it was, they could never be removed. What was it? Could they never be removed? And then it was removed with 3/4 of the Board of Trustees. And then it went up to a unanimous vote of the Board of Trustees. And then before that, it was, well, he can be part of the Board of Trustees, the Chief Justice. And I thought, why would you want to be involved in the Board of Trustees? What is your job here? Are you supposed to be like a judge? Then just be a judge, okay? Just be a judge. I'm happy with that. But to get involved in the inner workings, in the back, the policies, the Board of Trustees was supposed to represent the people. And to get involved with that is like, why? So all of these things led me to believe that there's either a great deal of fear that the status quo does not want to hand over power to the people, although they want to create that illusion. But in the end, what we were doing got into that inner fear that, hey, wait a minute, I won't have control. I won't have my authority that I've had all these years. I won't have all this respect because now if I don't have authority, I'm not going to have respect. It could have gone on and on and on. I don't really know what that was, but I know if I were in those shoes, I would probably feel that way.
Yeah.
Very threatening to my belief system, I guess you would call it. So, like I said, I'm not trying to say anybody, meant to do bad here, but what it looks like is the same old stuff that we have.
Okay. So let's talk about, Jeff just put a message in coming in here from the chat room, building a new foundation. Well, building a new foundation, a new building, a new foundation means tearing it down to the bare and starting brand new. Now we can get into the conversation. Go ahead, Sue.
Well, there was talk on the team, some of them just didn't want to let go of being able to find a court that they could get remedy and help the people, help us all get remedy. And so they said, well, we could put a couple of our own judges in there. We could have ITNJ USA. We could do this, and actually create our own court. Well, then I looked at the grand jury model again. And for me, I thought, we don't even need that. We've got the people. We've got the grand jury model. We've got everything we need. We've got private attorneys general, that can act as not only the enforcement, but as prosecutors, as investigators, as bounty hunters. So with all of that being said, why do we even need a court? Why do we even need a judge? Why? They're all
okay,
actors.
so you just touched on something, and I'm going to have to go there. I'm sorry.
You're apologizing ahead of time, which means this is going to be a rough one.
Enforcement.
Yes.
Okay, now I have no problems talking about it publicly. One of the biggest questions that always comes up, now this came up with the OPPT filings, of course, well, where's the great, where's the enforcement? And it came up with the ITNJ stuff, where's the enforcement? I asked Sasha that question myself, had a conversation with him about a month or so before the ITNJ inauguration. And his response was that they were going to take the ITNJ to the United Nations and have the nations vote on it. And then once they all voted in favor of the ITNJ, that they would have Interpol come into the United States of America and make arrests. And that would be the enforcement. Now, I was just like, oh, really? I didn't say it at the time, but it was just like, you're kidding me. You think this is actually going to work in the United States? Oh, you are so mistaken. And you were told the exact same thing.
Yeah. And I said, that's not going to fly here in the USA. And then I get this response, and I absolutely disagree with you. My intel sources say this and they say that. Well, you know what? You're not living in the United States. You haven't spent all your life here. Okay, your family's not here. My family's here. Okay, my friends are here, and I was highly offended by that, because not only again, we were having someone else with intel sources making decisions for, who was going to come in here and enforce something that we didn't even know was going to work at the time yet. We were still working on it. And I'm thinking, are you serious? I didn't understand the thinking. Now, maybe there's things that I don't know. I don't know everything, but I'm reasonably sure that if Interpol or any blue helmets would be walking in on U.S. soil, there would be chaos here. It would create total chaos.
Well, I mean, let's look at it. Agenda 21 is all about United Nations. And I mean, alternative media has been talking nonstop for a year about gun confiscation and UN vehicles being seen all over the United States. And the up-and-coming UN summit that's going to happen, September 24th. And in that same time period, you're talking about having Interpol under the guise of United Nations come into America and think that that's going to fly? Yeah, I'm thinking no.
I don't see how it would. And again, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll tell you, that whole idea to me sounded just like, okay, so the United States is probably going to be the sacrificial lamb of the world anyway. They're going to systematically take us down, because we are the bad guys. Not the people, of course, the leaders, but anyway, we're hated all across the world because we're such bad people. So they're going to take us down first. We're going to be the sacrificial lamb, and then they're going to bring in into the ashes. The ITNJ is going to rise up out of the ashes, and Interpol is going to come in here and finish the job. My imagination just went off, and I thought, no, this cannot happen. This cannot happen. And yeah, so that was another one of those things where I made a mental note, and I thought, okay, I'm dealing with someone who's not on the same page as I am. Definitely on a completely dangerous page as far as I was concerned. When it came to the United States, and not as in touch with the United States as he might have thought. That won't happen.
Well, like I said, there were certain comments made to me by certain people about the United States, and we won't even get into it, but yeah, less than knowledgeable. And we won't get into it. But yeah, I mean, this is the whole thing. The very thought of Interpol and United Nations being involved, is that not again old hat? Is that not again just going back to the old systems that are already there, already in play?
Well, one thing that was talked about was actually just registering the ITNJ as some type of a NGO with all these countries, and throwing down the signed treaties and walking away. That would actually help to give jurisdiction internationally to what we were doing, what we were attempting to do, because a lot of people would see this court as not being real, I guess, unless we had notified the rest of the world, we're here and this is what we're doing. So from that standpoint, that would have been okay with me. But to actually ask permission or have them administer for us, no, that's not okay. To walk in and say, here we are, boom, goodbye, just letting you know. that would have been okay with me.
Yeah.
So, but that's not, I don't know that that's going to happen or not. I don't even know what they're doing at this point, or what's going to happen from here on out. And we were going to talk about the Magna Carta. We were going to
yes.
Yeah, you did a show on the Magna Carta.
I did several, actually. It's one of those things, I've been kind of playing with the Magna Carta for years, and every so often it comes up and you kind of dive back down the rabbit hole again, et cetera, et cetera. And you and I had this conversation. If you talk about the Magna Carta, you cannot talk about the Magna Carta without talking about first the Treaty of Verona, which is the one that everyone doesn't talk about. And
no, that's why they call it the secret Treaty of Verona.
The secret Treaty of Verona. And it comes back to what we opened the show with. The first oath stands. So it didn't matter how many Magna Cartas were signed after the fact, because Pope Innocent III and King John had already signed the secret Treaty of Verona 2 years prior to the first Magna Carta. So it all became a moot point, really. And yet, that drama. Here we are, how many hundred years later? 800 years later, and the drama continues.
Yeah, and you know, it's like I said, until people understand that titles don't mean shit. You know, you can have respect for knowing this and knowing this and knowing this and meeting this person and this person and this person. That's fine. I'll respect you if that's what you want. But that does not mean that what I have to say isn't valid. What I have to say doesn't stand as truth when the facts are there, just because of your titles. You know, I can put a whole bunch of numbers and letters behind my name too. You know, what does that mean? So when you're dealing with that type of authoritative mentality, you can't ever be right. You know, you can't ever be right. And then when you do fight back, I mean, I remember Rebecca and I used to look at each other before we get on these calls, and these were called, I can't remember the name of the calls, but anyway, they were just strictly with the Australian team and the UK team and us, Rebecca and myself. And we'd hold our breath and go, here we go again. Because we knew we were going to have to dig in our heels yet one more time and say, we can't agree on this, you know. So if they proceed the way they're going, that's basically why I put my letter out there, because if they proceed the way they're going, well, at least you have this history, you have this something to go back on as to why the last USA team didn't come in. And as far as I know, there is no other USA team. There was one chick who stayed behind and stole our Facebook page from us, but you know, that was just a little tweak, I guess.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the worst damage we've suffered. So, you know.
Yeah, someone's stealing your Facebook page, and no, come on, and held it hostage, right?
Yes.
I mean, and held it hostage.
Yes.
Because you know that's really new paradigm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when you told me that, I fucking giggled my ass off.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was really mad at first, and then I thought, wait a minute, it's a Facebook page. But we had, you know, she had started it, so it was hers, and you know, she was going to take it over and do the way she wanted it, and then hold it hostage, thinking we were going to come back because of that. Seriously, or we were going to work something out. You know, there were some people on this team who did not know about law, and they said they didn't know anything about law. You know, I don't want to get involved in the law aspect because I don't know that, but I'll do something else. Great, do it. And then what happened though is it was almost like a, you know, we had gotten so close, all of us. And anyway, some of the team really got upset because there was no way to come to an agreement on things. And they knew that that was going to cause some separation, and they had really gotten attached to the project. Well, so had I. I really thought that this was going to be what it was that I was looking for as far as contributing. And when I came to the stark realization that it was not, and I looked back and I thought, my God, I'm regretting what I just left. I can't do this anymore. Anyway, some of those people really got upset because they really wanted this to work, I think. And for that, you know, okay,
when you invest that much time,
make it feel better, great.
Yeah. Well, it's an investment of time, right? And sometimes that is one of the biggest shackles to break through.
Yeah.
is in the realization that, okay, it didn't work. And now I have to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of those pieces that keeps a lot of people hanging into certain groups, certain organizations, certain projects, even though they know deep inside this is so wrong. It's not going anywhere. It's never going to go anywhere. But I've invested so much time and energy into it. How can I let it go now?
Yeah. That's a trap people get into in their minds. And, you know, I've gotten there many times. And
haven't we all?
yeah, but you know, if you're building something that you feel is not going to work, if you feel is actually dangerous, if it does work, you know, I couldn't do it. So that's all there is to it. Where we go
there comes a point when it's not just that it's flawed, but it's, as you perceive it, or I perceive it, dangerously flawed.
Absolutely dangerously flawed, you know.
Yeah.
And to actually want to put something out there like that, you know, with part of what we built, but the rest of it being in the hands of authority and titles and old money, you know, you hang around those people long enough, I guess you can easily think like them, and maybe it's easier for you to think like them than it is to think, you know, back to your own roots and stay with your own roots. So I also take that into consideration. You know, like I said, I'm not going to bash people because they disagree with me, but the facts speak for themselves always. So, you know, that's all I can say about that part of it.
Okay, one of the facts I want to talk about just briefly, and you brought it up, so that means it's fair game, was the fundraising and the crowdfunding. And the expectations of where that money was supposed to be going and to pay for what. Because I had heard little niggling bits around the edges over the preceding few months, just little pieces that would come up in a bit of conversation. But it wasn't until that I spoke to you that I realized just how extreme it was and was like, okay. So, crowdfunding.
Well, you know, the crowdfunding started. I don't know what bank account held the funds. I don't know exactly where they went to. I didn't really pay that much attention to it. I just knew it was going to the cause. And I still, to this day, don't know exactly where they are or what they're slated for. But when we got an invoice from the Chief Justice, or a billing statement, I guess it was called, or time billed, or something to that effect, laying out what time they'd spent on the ITNJ and asking when they were going to be reimbursed or how they were going to be reimbursed, or I can't even remember all the exact words. But anyway, I remember looking at it and going, are you kidding me? We're getting a bill from you. That's basically what the first thing that came in my head was, I'm getting a bill from you now, and your time is going to be paid for, and your expenses are going to be reimbursed by this crowdfunding. What about the people who have been working on this end? Not that I expected
first
anything,
off,
but
like, why was it sent to the American team? First question. Why was the bill sent to the American team? And for the record, I've actually seen the bill and had a rather thud moment myself. Like, are you kidding? I can get a lawyer in Canada for less money than that, and that's fucking saying something. I mean, per hour. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
Why was it sent to the American team? Why was the American team expected to crowdfund to pay what really is the legal fees, the hourly wage legal fees expectations of Sir John and his team? Not just him, but his, I guess they're his assistants. Yeah.
You know, it's basic business practice when you have a law firm or anything that to where you're billing your time, is to keep track of it. You know, it's basic business practice. And so that you know what time you spent to where you can claim that as a loss, or you can say, okay, I wasted my time here. It's basically for that purpose in my mind. Now, when you send a statement and say agreement to be reimbursed along with that, I'm thinking, I didn't agree to reimburse you. And I didn't even know I was going to get this. Why did I even get this to begin with? Now, we were doing the crowdfunding, and I was sort of the liaison between these two teams, which was fine also. But I still was amazed because I thought, where am I going to get this answer for you? And why is it that I need to spend my time doing that when I'm doing other things? What is the importance of this? Is it because we're going to crowdfund to write a check to you? I'm not going to do that. We're all volunteers, you know. I was kind of astounded. I really was. I didn't know. I knew we had a budget for all the offices. We had a budget for setting up an office to where I would be in an existing building that we already had, but where I would be to actually, you know, take in the cases and get them out and disperse them among the international communities and all of that stuff. I had no problem with those expenses. There was a salary built in for me too, but I wasn't sending bills out wanting it now, you know, or wanting to know how I was going to get paid, or, you know, who would I send that bill to? So yeah, that will make you really feel like a slave to get something like that.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to turn in a bill for $400 an hour, please, to someone, anyone. Is anyone, like, if I turn in a bill for $400 an hour, will somebody cut me a check?
Yeah.
Just saying.
To me, that was like the ultimate almost insult. You know, to me, when I got that, I thought, why? Where did I agree to account for the crowdfunding funds for you and to tell you, you know, try and facilitate you getting reimbursed at some point? That's something that you need to maybe discuss with your peers that you consider, you know, or the people that you made this deal with, because you didn't make it with me.
Or with the people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the people, we keep going back to this whole thing about the people.
Yeah.
I do not see anything, or let me fully and transparently say, I have not even gone to the website in the last month and a half. Back when I was really looking carefully into it, I did not see any breakdown of how much money the Chief Justice was going to get paid in a lifetime, and what his hourly wage would be, and what his assistant's hourly wages would be, and what his travel expenses would be. Because didn't you guys get an invoice also for his travel expenses to go to the inauguration?
I think, yeah, I think there was some type of accounting of the expenses for that. Yes. And you know, it was a huge fee, but of course you're talking going from Australia to the UK, and for 10 days for 4 people, I think it was. And so of course it was going to be a huge bill, but I'm thinking, okay, so we've got all these other things to reimburse. We've got, you know, an office to set up. We've got people that we're going to have to employ, at least a few people, to administer the daily work of the court. So it just didn't make any sense to me. I saw the I guess the priorities being not one of anything but, you know, how much am I going to get paid and when?
Yeah, and just a little hint, the travel expenses for the 4 people to go from Australia to London for 10 days was enough money for me to feed and house and clothe my entire family for a year. And more than I make now, by any stretch of the imagination, in a year. So, just to give you a little idea. I'm not going to get into numbers, but that should give you a ballpark.
Yeah. And there, you know, there was nothing in the policies and procedures set, again, to be transparent to the public as to the expenses and where they were going to be. You know, if I was asked to formulate filing fees for the court, and I thought, well, if the crowdfunding is not going to work the way we wanted it to, we will have to have some type of a filing fee. Number one, and this was a good point, and that was to keep Joe Smith from sending in his traffic ticket and saying, "Here, fix this for me," and getting inundated with cases like that.
Yeah.
And
My neighbor's dog barks too loudly. I want to sue him.
Yeah, and you're going to get that. So we wanted to weed those out, and for good reason. So that's understandable. But then the filing fee, there was like $2,000 discussed because it was common in Australia. Well, okay, people aren't getting justice today as it is, and that's kind of one reason why they can't afford it. So, and then there was a sliding scale fit.
$1,000 filing fee?
Yeah. And then now the other countries were in consideration. I said, well, we've got Africa, we've got all these countries that, can't afford it. Well, we'll do a sliding scale for those. I was fine with that too. But the $2,000, and it was justification for paying the staff for the court. And I thought, we really need that much. We're talking, say we got 100 cases in, $2,000 a piece. That's a lot of money coming in a week's time. We don't need that much. There's not that many staff here to pay. And I'm not saying that would be a bad thing. The money could have been put in trust for later on, or for opening up other offices, or for helping Africa, or for doing all these things. So I'm not, going to presume that I know, but I just know that people don't get justice because it's so expensive right now, and that is very similar to what we have now. So, no, that wasn't going to fly with me either. And
well, I mean, in Canada, you can't step into a court for anything, including fighting a traffic ticket. And if you bring a lawyer, it's $2,000 just for them to step into a court. So you're going back to the whole thing again. People don't have. We're dealing. We opened the show talking about financial devastation across the fucking globe happened today. They managed to whitewash very nicely and cover up with their bibbity bobbity boo, but I digress. People don't have this kind of money, and people who've just lost their homes, people who have a major case. You're looking at, we talked about what you said, asbestos. If you've got someone who is spent 20 years on ventilation machines and the medical bills, and is trying to fight Phillips, do they have $2,000 to file? No, they don't.
No, they don't.
In which case, it's not for the people.
No, I had suggested $250 with the option to give $10 to a slush fund for people who can't afford it. Not that was perfect either, but it was better than $2,000. But since the crowdfunding didn't work out the way we wanted to, I figured we had to do something, because we had to get this court running, and maybe we needed to get it running. Maybe we needed to have a case out there to prove to the people that this was really going to work, and this was really something that could be viable, that they could get involved in. Okay. Maybe they needed to see that in these times. You do, people are discerning now, and they don't give their money to just anything.
You can't.
You can't. So I was okay with that too. So I thought, well, okay, if we charge a filing fee, that's fine. Let's do that. But like I said, there was nothing in the policies and procedures then set as to where that money was going to go for an accounting to the public. And I'm not saying that wasn't an idea that was going to happen, but I didn't see it as even being a point of discussion. And that was very important to me before we took any cases in, that we were able to justify where those funds were going at all times. So,
well, I mean, one of the big bylines that was continuously used by various people high up involved in the ITNJ was transparency. Yeah. And yet the one thing there has not been at all in any way, shape, or form has been transparency.
No.
So let's skip this. I'm sick of talking about the ITNJ. So where do we go? Talking about foundations and building foundations.
Yeah.
So you guys, this grand jury model, which you are continuously working on, and I'm really excited to see, which is, like I said, saying something, because I hate everything to do with legal stuff, but I'm actually really looking forward to seeing this. Where do we go from here? Where is the next step, in your opinion? Where is the next place that can be, let's call it launch pad?
Launch pad would be that we could build the same thing here. for the people. It's possible. We'd have to get a lot of people involved. We have the model. We also have PAGs, private attorneys general, that have graduated this past July. There were, I think, 13 of them, but there's more across the country. We just need to gather them, get them together and say, hey, you know, we need your help. And we have the true value, the true role of the notary. The notary was the one who did the presentment that the grand jury would bring the presentment to. The notary had a very big job in the court system. So we're going to bring that information out too. It's just so much that, and there's only a few of us working on it. It's been very difficult to get it out when we want to. Anyway, and all grand jury groups who want to get something going, contact us. You know, we're still working with the same ones we were, but everybody's welcome. We tried to talk to the National Liberty Alliance, but they made it very difficult for us to talk to them. So we'll keep working on that. I don't know why. But that's kind of a large group that we could actually welcome on board. In the meantime, we're also talking about all kinds of the sovereignty things. I was talking to someone today about taking back our farms. Being out here, I live with people who are farmers, and they, are having a rough time, and they can't even get their products to market because their families have had to go to work, and to feed themselves and to feed their parents, their aging parents who are still on farms that don't have the money or the physical capability of working their farm anymore. So they just sit there. So there are people now, all the people that I'm with now, they will actually go to the different farmers now. We're in Kansas, Arkansas, spreading into Illinois, and of course Missouri, talking to these farmers one by one and offering help. 5 people from one farm go over to another farm and work it for 2 days. And then exchange, 5 more people go over, get the products out to market. The corporations, you don't see any organic stuff in the stores because, of course, big ag and Monsanto are in your way, right? So we go in numbers to festivals and we sell our stuff there, our organic stuff there, and we make it a big deal. There's also talk about a different type of label that can be done on organic.
Not using the word organic. No. Of course, with my business, this is my big thing, is saying people, don't use the word organic because it doesn't mean what you think it means anymore. Thanks to the legal system and the FDA. Pure, natural, also don't mean what you think they mean anymore. So, changing the language. You've got to get in there. Now, on this topic, when we get off, I have someone I'm going to introduce you to who is doing this in Canada.
Awesome. And
he is doing some incredible work, him and his wife, busting their fucking asses, and they're making a difference. They're one of these people making a difference. Maybe one day we'll have to have a whole show that just talks about this, because this is a very, very major piece that needs to be dealt with.
Hey, we got 3 days here worth of food, okay? And that's it. And there's no more. That's it. So if the economy crashes and all the stores, the shelves go empty, that's it. It's in 3 days. The trucks don't run. People who are dependent on the grocery stores won't have anything on their shelves to go to. So what is it that you're going to do? You're going to have to feed yourself. You're going to have to learn how to do that. And when you do that, you empower yourself, and it makes you, like when you were a kid, when someone gave you when my dad would give me something to do, I'd complain about it and I didn't want to do it. But after I got done, I always felt better because I did it. It's because I did it myself. And, I kind of equate it to that, to just empowering people, to let them know you can do this. You can grow a garden in your apartment. You can grow potatoes in a tire. You can do all these things. And these farmers that I live with, they're awesome because they know all this stuff. It's ancient way farming. So we're going to be bringing that out as I can get them to actually stop working their farm long enough to do an interview with them and to get their stuff out. They're just very busy because they need help too.
Okay, well, I would like to be involved in that interview.
Great.
Really, really, because there is someone else I'm going to introduce you to. I was like, all of a sudden my brain's going, oh, and this person, oh my God, and oh my God. So, yeah. Taking back farms is one of the very first pieces.
Yes, absolutely. And getting the products to market, getting them to the point where they are self-sufficient again, and they can feed themselves and they can take care of themselves and pay their damn power bill until we get free energy. That's another thing that's coming out that there's some people that I'm working with that have some amazing technology as well. So I know it's coming out everywhere. It's not just, but one thing I am grateful to the ITNJ is for these connections and for people getting to know so many people that are doing such awesome work. Let's get together and just get the damn job done. I'm tired of, trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong. Let's just get the job done. We know what's right. Let's feed people. Let's empower them, and move forward. And we've got the grand jury model. We will get that out. I swear to God, we will. We've got the source documents we want to bring out. We want to bring out the history so that anybody who does want to become a part of his grand jury can look at all these documents. We're thinking about putting it in even an ebook format so that people can get it and hand it out to other people, and hand these out. I want to go to the farms and I want to hand out it. I want to put another thing in the chat. It's the farmresettlementcongress.org. And if you go to farmresettlementcongress.org, that is one of the major groups that is working in the United States right now, started by one man and now branching out into the other states to empower the farmers. And this is really important. If we can't feed ourselves, what are we here for? What can we do?
And it's, taking back the power. And I mean that in all senses of the word.
Yes.
The energy that we take from the earth, as far in the form of food, the energy that we take from the atmosphere around us in the form of energy, literally electricity. Of course, that's my husband, Nick. That's his baby. That's his project that he's been working on, and he's got multiple pieces on the go as well, and awesome. a new one that he's working on. So these are all major pieces of building the foundation.
Well, if these farmers had access to free energy, at least some type of free energy that would at least lessen the burden, their biggest bill is power. They have to power these big machines. They have to power their homes. And out in the rural areas, they have co-ops, electric companies that are co-ops. Well, they're usually family owned. And that sounds really cool and really fun, but it's not. It's very corrupt. And it's very expensive. And they don't hesitate to come out and, unhook you with, 2 days without notice if your bill is late. I've had that happen to me when I lived on my farm. So, I didn't even know my bill was late. It was automatic pay and something happened. I don't know what happened. But anyway, they were out there on the pole and I got a call at work. Hey, they're out there on the pole ready to take your electric off. 2 days late, no call, no nothing. I didn't know. So anyway, that's what they're suffering from here, and lack of help. Lack of this actual manpower. A lot of people will allow you to live on their farms if you would come and help, in exchange. They'll give you room and board if you would come and help. If you're trustworthy, you've got to be trustworthy. But we're trying to get those groups, those people that need a place to stay and want to contribute with these farmers to also put them all together too. It's just a huge network.
There's a huge amount of people out there. I mean, you know how involved I've been in social media and the chat rooms and et cetera, et cetera. There are so many people I know out there who are looking for that because they want to get the fuck out of the city. Mm-hmm. And they want to get out and they want to get their hands and their feet into the dirt and they want to learn how to be self-sufficient. Well, you know where you learn? You learn by going to a farm, one of these, generational farms who've been doing it for, 6 generations, 5, 4, 3 generations, and learning it. But then you also bring the new young people in who have got these brilliant ideas of how you can involve, permaculture and how you can maybe throw in some hydroponics and maybe you can do. There are so many ways to move forward. And it's about connecting the people. It's about the people helping the people for the people, right? It all comes back to for the people. You get the people to connect, and then they have the ability to help each other out. They have the ability to say, we've talked about it. Nick and I, our dream has been for years, for over a decade, our dream has been building a community. And you put the call out and you can create something where you can say, Joe, over there in Montana, he's got a room in his house, and he is more than willing to, for room and board, if someone could help him rebuild his barn that got torn down in the big storm last year. So we need a carpenter or someone who's got basic building skills. Oh, I can think of about a half a dozen people off the top of my head right now who would probably jump at that opportunity. You have someone who says, okay, well, we're going to put in hydroponics so we can grow during the winter indoors. Well, then we need someone who can help run with plumbing. Is there anyone out there who could help us for a month with plumbing for room and board, and, we can work something out? There are a shitload of people who are A, unemployed, B, going off the grid because they've had a fucking enough, and they all know where the hell this shit is seriously rolling downhill right now, and C, want to get out of the cities. So it becomes a matter of, when you talk about building foundations, is bringing these people together and giving them a place where they can actually make the connections.
Exactly. And, we're hoping Adventures into Sovereignty is going to hopes to form that umbrella, sovereignty in everything, health, farms, just anything sovereign, and anything to express our sovereignty, because they took that word away from us and they made it bad. Thank you, Southern Poverty Law Center, you creeps. And, but I'm sovereign, we're all sovereign. So we have a right to be, and we have a right to use the names. So that's who we are. And there's no reason why we can't form groups. Yeah, the farm would be wonderful, because I think that's a really good starting place. It really is. I mean, no, it's not the easiest thing. I have sheep in my driveway, but but it's really cute. So
okay,
that's where we're at.
We have a question coming in from the chat room. Question is, ask what was the motive, we're going back to the ITNJ stuff, what was the motive and how was it going to gain from it? The intent, premeditated or infiltrated?
Okay, what was the motive of the ITNJ? I don't know what it is now. What the plan that I saw was, the motive was to create a space to where natural law could be dispensed and in a court of the people, and that was the model, using a grand jury model. Said nothing about a chief justice that was going to write the founding documents and then not agree to any changes or stuff like that. So yeah. So it would just simply provide the space, and it would be on an international level. That would get, I guess, jurisdiction or recognition somehow by going to the United Nations with 1 million signed treaties and say, here, see you later, we're here, just wanting to let you know, see you later. And that would have helped a lot, I think, get a little bit of notoriety and a little bit of credibility. That's what it started out to be. So
the tough question being, was it premeditated from the beginning, i.e. the road that it's gone down, or is it a matter of infiltration?
Well, the road it went down, as I saw it towards the end there, was so different from what I had understood it to be. And I know I wasn't wrong in my understandings, because we had been working towards this all year with absolutely nobody saying, hey, you're on the wrong track here. Hey, you're doing it wrong, or you're not saying what we wanted you to say. Nobody said that, no objections. So then towards the end, we're getting, 72-hour contract notices, that Rebecca needs to respond to. And then we're getting, I can get a juror out of the phone book. The private attorney general was in that beginning plan. And towards the end, I remember hearing on a call, we don't need PAGs hiding in the grass with guns, acting almost like we were Neanderthals or something, for even thinking of, when it was part of the plan in the very beginning. I saw it. I saw the emails going to these same people. So I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. All I know is what my experience, and it was almost like a 180-degree turn in a couple months' time. So you be the judge there.
Well, I mean,
it just, either way, I don't know if it was infiltrated, and I don't know if it was already, if it was always the plan and we were just supposed to build some type of a structure that they could run with later on. They certainly didn't like what we built, so I can't see how they can use that, but they certainly could use the funds that we raised, what little we did raise. I don't know where they're at today, so, or what they're going to be used for. You know, if they're going to be used for the ITNJ to carry on, fine. I hear it's going to carry on. We'll see.
more power to them. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, more power to them is right. So
Is the question been answered to your satisfaction, darling? Do I really want to ask that question? Oh, okay. Well, yes. I just got told yes. From the chat room, what did they have on Sasha to turn them?
there's two schools of thought that I have on this, and one of them is you spend so much time with people with titles and old money, catering to them because you want them on your side, that you actually become one of them. Number two, I think if I were part of that group and I had nefarious ideas in my head, if I wanted to take over someone like Sasha Stone, who was out there and who was gaining a lot of support for what it was he was saying, the best way to take them over without killing him or harming him or causing any problems would be to make him one of them, literally. And I guess you could probably do that over a period of years when you have tea with the Queen of Hawaii, and you know you travel with all these big names. Maybe it's easier to become one of them after a period of time. I don't know, but certainly he could identify with them better than I could. Most definitely.
Well,
to the point where I didn't recognize who I was talking to towards the end. So I just really didn't.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
There was a radical change.
Yeah, a radical change. Yeah. People
I always considered Sasha a friend, and the conversations we had were always awesome. He was on our show. I was on his show several times. Amazing conversations, and it went from that to something very, very different very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Which is the alarm
really
bells.
was. Yeah, it did. And, when I realized what little regard was given our team, just in some of the emails that we got, and also the assumption that there was some authority that we were supposed to answer to, and that we needed to respect this person or that person because of who they were. No, I don't have to respect you if you're not respecting me. For one, I'll do it just because I have a little higher moral standard that I just like to do that. But no. So what it amounted to, I think, in the long run, as I feel today, we were slave labor and our energy was harvested, and I don't even know why. I have no clue why.
It's easy to use something that's free.
Yeah.
And there's an expression here, actually, in Morocco that actually is very apt for this. And the expression talks about they'll milk the cow, but never feed it.
Yeah, that's pretty good expression.
Yeah, that's a good Moroccan expression. So they'll milk the cow and yet never feed it. Yeah.
So, the whole thing to me is quite sad. It's quite disappointing. But again, if I hadn't been part of it, I wouldn't have gotten all the cool contacts I have now and all the cool people that I'm working with now.
And you would not have the perspective you have now.
Right. And the perspective. Exactly.
You know what? This is, Lisa and I have discussed this so many times. Sometimes you have to go through what we go through. You have to be there deep inside to see it all, to gather up all the knowledge so that you can come out the other side.
Right. And
come out the other side with lots of connections, with a lot more knowledge, a lot more insight, a lot more savvy, maybe I don't want to call it street savvy, but yeah, in a lot of ways, you come out with very heightened sense of alarm bells that, you know, they're finely tuned now. Like anyone starts bullshitting you, it's like ding, 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 ding. Wait, I've been here before. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So yeah, there's always the positive that comes out of all of this, the connections that you guys have made, where you guys are moving forward to. I'm sorry, I'm far more impressed with where you guys' plans are to move forward to than where it was 3 months ago.
Yeah, I'm happier about it too. You know, there's days I think, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done. I don't know how we're going to get this done. And then I get a call, or I get, you know, an email or something that just redeems my hope that really we can make some change. And this latest group that we connected with is going to be awesome and help us with crowdfunding and help us get the word out to the farmers. We want to be able to travel, you know, and get in the car and just go to each one of these farms, because these people don't have internet. They're not on the television. They're sitting around worrying and twiddling their thumbs all day, not wondering when they're going to, you know, the sheriff's going to come and take their farm. Yep. And they have all this land that is beautiful land that yep. if they had a little bit of help, they could produce for the entire community and would be very happy to do it, and also support themselves at the same time. How
exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Hello, seed libraries. Oh. Seed libraries are one of the most amazing freaking things out there, and so fucking easy to do. Literally, you harvest the seeds, you share the seeds, everyone grows the produce, and then they harvest the seeds and give back to the original library so you can share out more seeds. And it grows exponentially.
That's brilliant. Just,
you know, brilliant. There are brilliant people. There are people who have the pieces to make the foundations of true change. Mm-hmm. Not pretend change, not high and mighty lofty change, but actual change. The changes that make a difference, like helping people keep their farms, helping people take back their farms, helping people move forward and giving themselves a sense of empowerment to themselves.
And just think, if these farmers were empowered again, they have the power to feed the entire world.
Exactly.
And how soon do you think the corporations would have to turn around and say, oh, there's a lot of these guys, you know, we might need to get out of their way. We might need to find something that competes with them. We might need to just kind of let them do their own thing, because the numbers would get greater and greater and greater. So I think there's a lot of power in the farm. I really do, much more than we realize, because it is the power to feed the entire world and feed them with healthy food.
Okay. So adventuresintosovereignty.org. Mm-hmm. If you've heard stuff that tonight that have all little light bulbs are popping off in your head and you're going, oh my God, talk to Sue. Let's bring the people together. And Sue, we're going to have you back on, and we're going to get focused really tightly on this. And like I said, I have some people in other countries, in other places, who have put a call out and done amazing freaking things. So let's bring in a huge group. Maybe it'll be the next Tug Symposium.
That would be awesome. I would love to do that and find out what people in other countries are doing in parts of this country and get us all together. It's time we did that. We have to do it for these people who can't do it, who can't afford internet, who aren't on the internet, don't even know how to do it. Yep. Because we have to actually physically go out there and talk to these people and get them together. So let's just do that. I think that's a great idea. So yeah, I'm anxious to get started on that. Cool project.
Okay, so we got 2 minutes left. 1 minute left, actually, but we'll call it 2 minutes. We can stretch it, right, Vicki? Yeah, there's going to be another Tug Symposium on this, guaranteed. I think Sue and I will maybe brainstorm some of that tomorrow, if we can't get the time together. Coming up this Sunday is the next Tug Symposium, and Sue's going to be joining me on that one too, and it's called The Fall of the American Empire. We got an incredible lineup of panelists. including Randy Moggins, Dean Clifford, Roger Landry from the Liberty Beacon, Sue, myself. We may have a few others joining us, and we're going to talk about, hey, it's time to get our shit together. I see a lot of symposiums coming up very soon. We have a lot of shit that we need to organize. Fuck, this world needs to be organized. We better get at it. But for tonight, we're done. And Sue, thank you so much for being with us. This was fucking awesome.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime, sweetheart. We'll be back next Monday. Lisa will be back. I believe we have another guest joining us next Monday. We're going to be jumping down a different rabbit hole than this week. Yeah, we have a lot of shit to discuss. I don't know, we may even have to fit a couple extra roundtables in between now and next Monday because we have so much shit to discuss. But yeah, for tonight, we're done. I want to say thanks to everyone in the chat room. Huge thank you to Jeff for, of course, relaying all the questions to me. And a big thanks, of course, to Biggie, our awesome producer, who keeps us on the air, even when my internet fights against it. For now, we'll see you later, everyone. Bye.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN high-definition downloads. You can now purchase a high-definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows, which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN on the air, public funding is needed. Please donate to CCN's Network Support Fund or become a monthly pledger. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.